Hey, good morning, everybody. Good morning, Ray. How are you going? Gorgeous. So today's session, I'm going to be talking about a pre-talk and waking hypnosis. Your pre-talk is something that once you nail it, you become the authority figure. You really know what you're talking about, and then people then start to aspire towards what information you have and the criteria that you have on offer. Hi, Angela, Lynette, Megan. How you going? Give me some love hearts, guys. So a pre-talk is known as an NLP technique. This is where the magic can truly happen. Hypnotizing someone in a waking state will put you a cut above the rest. I've been to those people that say to me, oh, this is not NLP, this is only hypnosis. Well, NLP is anything that you discuss while someone is actually in the alpha wave. So whilst they're actually in that conscious state, they are actually getting NLP. NLP will then lead to the person dropping down into a trance-like state, like a daydream, like a light state, and that's where they start to take on more information. So you could be talking to them and then all of a sudden they just drift off slightly. And that's when you've actually bypassed the conscious into the subconscious, and they've either one, switched off because the information isn't relevant, or two, they're starting to take it on board and agree with it. They're like, yes, yes, that is so true. That is so true. They're actually hypnotizing themselves. So NLP is where you can actually be put a cut above everybody else. Like I said, I've been to those hypnotherapists that have got, no, I only do hypnosis, I don't do NLP. They actually do NLP, they just don't understand the power of it and how to use it properly. So pre-talk is known as conversational or waking hypnosis. It's where you actually just talk to someone and get them to change their mind. Now, you've all done it. You've said to someone, hey, would you like a drink? And they've gone, no. And you're like, oh, really? Like, or would you like a cup of coffee? I'm making one. And that is an NLP technique. It's just a one-line NLP technique where you get someone to change their mind whilst they're in a waking state or in a conversational state. Now, the client just needs to be open to learning and the suggestion being made while they accept the correct evidence is available. This is the difference here. So, for example, if I say to someone, would you like a cup of coffee? And they're like, no, thanks, I don't really want one. And then I might say, well, we won't be stopping the car for 2 hours if you want to get a coffee now. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, yeah, I will grab one. That's just NLP. That's negotiation NLP, negotiation conversation. And that's where I've gotten that person to change their mind. They've gone, yeah, I will get one now. They've put themselves into that semi-like trance for just a few moments. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, yeah, I will have one. I've gotten them to change their mind. That's what it is. And it's very, very simple. So pre-talk is done when you're setting up people to listen for an outcome, when you want to negotiate with their mind whilst they're actually learning. So pre-talks are used in many different ways. Some of them are one-line negotiations, some of them are full-on conversations and full-on criterias. So a coach will do a pre-talk before a game. They will encourage the players and lift their spirits like, come on guys, we've been training all season, we've beaten this team before. You know that you can do it. They'll use their tone, they'll use their physiology. They'll get the people in their team like, right, everybody get up, jump around, get some energy, blah, 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 blah. So that is actually a coach doing a pre-talk to get the players into that energy, into that mood, into that swing, so that they can lift themselves to win the game, to tap into their skills. A person standing at a podium will use a pre-talk with evidence to sway people's decisions and thoughts. So this happens a lot with judges and in courts and stuff like that. They'll be like, so at 9:57, you were located at the scene of the crime and we have you on camera for this. Is this true? And then the person on the podium will be like, oh, shit, I'm on the camera. Yeah, well, I have to say yes. So someone who's on a podium can actually have a pre-talk with evidence to get the NLP to come through to tell the truth. That's another form of hypnosis. And a hypnotist will give a pre-talk about what hypnosis is and what hypnosis isn't. Hi, Danielle, Angela. Hey guys, give me some hearts, give me some love, and that's my new song. So a hypnotist will actually use a pre-talk about what hypnosis is and what hypnosis isn't. They'll go into the fallacies and things like that so that they can set up their client for success. There's many people that come to me and they're like, no, I'm not going to come to you because you're going to make me control my mind, you're going to make me cluck like a chicken. I'll actually use a pre-talk NLP then of negotiation and evidence so that I can bypass their conscious thinking into their subconscious. So what I actually say to those people, I'm like, really? I'll make you cluck like a chicken? And they're like, yeah, you'll make me cluck like a chicken. I've seen that happen on stage. I'm like, if I had that level of mind control, why would I bother with the chicken? And they're like, what do you mean? I said, I'd make you go to the bank, get all your money out, come back and give it to me, and then forget who I was. Do you think I can really make you cluck like a chicken? And they're just like, oh, it does sound a bit silly now that you've said it like that. And then they'll start asking better constructive questions about hypnosis. So that's just a pre-talk with evidence that I've used to get my client to change their mind about the clucking of the chicken. So all these examples and more are done with great tenacity and rock solid evidence. So the client is left with no further questions. All they're left with is that light bulb moment that they're like, oh, that makes sense. And when there are no further questions, the listener is then convinced they're open to learning and they have taken on the suggestions that the pre-talk was based upon. It is very, very good fun to do. I love doing pre-talks in every single one of my sessions. There's a lot of hypnotists out there that have been taught, do not waste your time doing a 10 or 15 minute pre-talk when you're in your session. Just do a rapid session, get them into trance, do the suggestion, and then get them out the door. To me, this is not effective enough, because if I can actually hypnotize someone whilst they're standing there and solve the problem with a waking hypnosis or an NLP, then that puts me a cut above the rest. I once had a lady at a carnival, severe anxiety, and I conquered it just in a couple of sentences right there, right then, when she's standing there. And she went home, she sent me a text message later, and she's like, oh my gosh, I have not had anxiety ever again. And it's now been about 3 years now. She still hasn't had her anxiety attacks. And she's like, how did you do that? All I did was I used conversational hypnosis with a rock solid evidence procedure that her brain could not negotiate against, and then there were no further questions. So a great example of this is if you look at your toothbrush, you brush your teeth with it, sort of thing. Now, if you look at your toothbrush, you have to wonder, why is it called a toothbrush? Shouldn't it be called a teeth brush because it actually cleans your teeth? No further questions. So pre-talks can go for any length of time. Some are simple one-line quotes and others are full-on speeches and demonstrations. So some are simple lines and quotes. Rice on face, not good look. I'm sorry, I make myself giggle sometimes. Rice on face, not good look. That is a very, very simple one-line negotiation between the person and the brain, which creates the brain to go, oh, I better not have some rice on my face. Another simple one-line by Tony Robbins, your past doesn't equal your future. This resonates with a lot of people. This is one of my favorites here. It's from Star Wars and it's a character called Yoda. No, try not. Do or do not, there is no try. This is where you do a confusion technique where you're in conversation, you're talking in riddles as such, and then the person realizes that there is no try. You're either doing something or you're not doing something. There's not actually anything that's in between. Martin Luther King's speech went on for 17 minutes. So when he did his speech, I Have a Dream, it went on for 17 minutes. So it doesn't matter how long the pre-talk goes for, as long as, number one, it's relevant to the outcome that you're looking for, and number two, it has a really rock solid evidence procedure to it. Because if it doesn't have the evidence, that people cannot actually negotiate with their mind that this is correct. It just doesn't work like that. So pre-talks contain evidence, an undeniable truth. Just like me before with the toothbrush, it should be called a teeth brush because you clean your teeth with it, not just one tooth. And that makes you go, oh, that makes sense. But no one's going to call it a teeth brush because we've been trained as a toothbrush. So it needs an evidence procedure that's an undeniable truth to get people to start shifting. So you can use statistics, you can use articles, you can use video displays, you can use any kind of negotiation period to get that person to change their mind. The pre-talk also needs to contain tonality and passion. There's absolutely no point in saying to someone, did you know according to this statistic, 1 in 5 people in Australia suffer from IBS? It's boring. It's absolutely boring. If you use your tonality, you use your body language, you use your passion, you can go, did you know that 1 in 5 people in Australia suffering from IBS? And they're like, oh, really? That's horrible. You're getting a reaction out of them. You're getting that interest where they go, oh, that's horrible. You've just upgraded that subconscious with a fact and an evidence that they cannot deny. And they're like, oh, who says that? According to the Australian Bureau of Statistics, which leads me into my next part, which is the hierarchy of names and others that support the subject. So, for example, if you're doing a pre-talk, make sure you know the names and the dates of when these things occur. And I quote from the great Tony Robbins, most people fail in life because they major at minor things. So that's where I can drop in a line. I've gone through my evidence, I've got my tonality, I've got my passion, and then I can drop in the line whilst that person is in a semi-trance state where they're starting to learn from me. I can go, and I quote from the great Tony Robbins, most people fail in life because they major at minor things. And they're like, oh, really? Tony Robbins? Well, he knows his stuff, and you know his stuff because obviously you have been looking at it. This is great. So also the next thing a great pre-talk contains is knowledge. Know your pre-talk, and if you go off topic or you forget the details, the critical factor will kick in and people will disengage from the conversation. So make sure you know your stuff so that way you can just talk about it. Sure, I even went through a phase in my life where I sat there and I'm like, okay, so in 1967, the brain gate theory was first found, and it's because I didn't have it in my mind. So when it comes to your pre-talk, know your stuff, know what you're talking about. That's what some great leaders actually do. They'll go up, they'll stand up, and they talk about their stuff fluently. They know all of the information that is guaranteed to get to that no questions available at the end of the pre-talk. So make sure that you know your stuff. Hey, sure. So every now and again, I go off track as well. Nobody's perfect, but still know your stuff. Get those statistics, get those prompts in your head. If you don't have a good memory, then make sure you have prompts written up on your whiteboard or something like that to get you to go to each section so that you know that you cover everything. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, and your client's not going to know any different when you're doing that. Also, when it comes to a great pre-talk, when your client is in the room, have clear instructions for the hypnosis client. So, for example, when they come in for their first hypnosis session with me, I'll actually say to them, let's do some hypnosis training. And they're like, yeah, okay. I was like, because you probably haven't done it my way before, so let's do some hypnosis training. They're going, yeah. This is awesome. I said, right. So now, the very first thing I want you to do is bugger this up. I want you to do it in your own way, and I want you to completely bugger it up so that way I can teach you how to do it better. Because if you don't bugger it up, why are you here? You already know how to do it. And they'll be like, yeah, that makes so much sense, Trish. That's so true. And then all of a sudden I'll take them through the training, and then I'll say to them, you know what? You did that so perfectly. You are a natural at it. So it's a really, really great thing to have clear instructions for your client to make sure that they know exactly what they're going to do. And then there are no questions left at the end of the session. All there is empowerment and wonder. Now, like I said before, all of my sessions have a pre-talk in them. All of them go for between 10 and 15 minutes because I'm setting up my client. If you've ever watched a TED Talks, that's what they're doing there. They're using NLP techniques to start establishing a point, to establish a key interest, and then to get people to agree when they're like, oh yeah, that makes total sense. And there's usually not many questions at the end of a TED Talks because the people are like, yeah, I'm just so convinced this is the right information. And now you've shifted them to make that change in their life and then move in that different direction. So a great pre-talk can open your client's mind to potential. It can make your hypnosis session even more powerful, and it can engage the client to think of options and upgrade their minds. They don't even realize it's happening, and then all of a sudden they're like, wow, that was a great session. You've really opened up my mind. I've been really thinking about it. Then they'll go away from the session. When they come back for the second session, all of a sudden they're like, you know what? I really got thinking about what you were saying about standards and the musts and the shoulds. And you know what? I really have decided to do this. That's what a pre-talk does. It gives great evidence, it gives really great knowledge, and there are no questions left at the end of the session. So please join me in the next video. I'm going to be talking about tonality, because when it comes to being a hypnotherapist or an NLP master, you need to use your tonality. There's no point in getting out a script and going, so take yourself out into the forest and then imagine some beautiful green trees. You've got to get into your story. You've got to really make it worthwhile, because you're going to get a lot of audio clients out there. You're going to get some kinesthetic clients that want to feel it, and then you're going to get visual clients as well that want to see it. So you're going to have to use a lot of tonality, and I'm going to talk about that in the next video. Otherwise than that, have an awesome day, everybody. Bye-bye. Mwah.